What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, you are watching TWA Motorsports, and today it just seems like lately we've had some drama with the daily drivers. You know, I don't love to work on the daily driver stuff. I just want them to run unless we're like upgrading, right? I hate fixing stuff unless it's like making it better. So recently we did the battery in Dana's Yukon. We also need to do fix the AC on it. That's coming soon, hopefully. And but anyway, Cohen's truck, the brakes, guys, the brakes are shot. It's just the back brakes, and so that's all we're going to be replacing in this video. And I can't just replace it with stock stuff. I've got to upgrade. I don't know why this truck is missing a lot of paint. It's got the clear falling off in a lot of places, but we've done a few things to make this truck a little nicer. And honestly, guys, I think we're going to keep it around because it works great as a lawn mowing truck. But the rear brakes are shot. So guys, look, this is a 99 model truck, and in the 99s to 2004, they ran a single disc brake in the back, a single piston disc brake. Now you'll remember, if you've been on the channel for a while, we upgraded to the Suburban style dual piston on the green truck. I didn't want to necessarily do that on this truck, but here's what else I will tell you. Every time I change pads and rotors on the rear of a single piston truck, the caliper locks up, it gets out so far and then it rusts, and the piston doesn't want to compress back in the caliper. So I have decided to replace it with new single pistons. We're going to be upgrading to a newer style brake at the same time. Guys, I am going to be listing every single thing I use in the description below this video, so go check out the links. Look, here's where I started. I didn't want to show you guys me painting or doing any of that process, so I did this off camera, but I decided to go with a nice red, and this is just POR 15 caliper paint. What I did here was I ordered new rears for the back. Okay, like I said, we're only doing the back. I'm not doing the front. The front is good still. I'm going to show you here in a minute how bad the backs are. But yeah, this is just brand new metal. Okay, I do not like to order these reconditioned, so I'm going to be listing these in the link too. These are just a replacement single piston from Ray Bestis. Had really good luck with those. We're going to be doing power stop for the brake rotors and the pads. And look how bad, guys, we're gonna have to do some wheel cleaning. I'm probably gonna have to get some, it's bad, it's bad. I'm interested to get this wheel off and see how bad it is, but I'm also gonna be replacing the brake lines. Look, this is a 99 model, so what, several years old. I'm guessing the brake lines are toast, so I ordered new brake lines, just stock replacements. The only thing aftermarket we're doing really is the pads and the rotors. So let's get started. I'm gonna get this thing off the ground, get the rear wheels off. Should be a 7/8 or a 3/4 depending on what lug nuts you have. These are newer style lug nuts to go with those newer wheels. So let's get it off the ground. Make sure you put some jack stands under it to get it, make it really secure. Probably wouldn't hurt to put something in the front so it doesn't roll either. Got it off the ground, got some jack stands under the rear end, got this wheel off. And guys, I told you it was bad. Check this out. All right, you're probably looking at this thinking, that's not too terrible, it's scored up. That's the front. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Now you see, I heard it grinding last time I drove it. Cohen never said anything until I drove it. I said, I think the brakes are dragging. And he's been driving at short distances, like a mile away from the house and back. And last night he said, I'm not driving it anymore. It seems like it's locking up or something. Yeah. This is bad, guys. This is really, really, really bad. The rotor's gone. I mean, look, it got it. But like I said, these things it's common for these things to lock up like this in the back. And so that's what it looks like it's doing, because the front pad still has life left in it. You see that? But the back pad is completely gone. And so it's out of the holder even. Holy cow. All right, so we need to grab, I think this is a 12 millimeter. I'm since we're replacing all this, I'm just going to take the 18s loose here that hold the brackets. See that 18 right there, and then the one right below it. Let's just take those off first, and let's just get the whole caliper assembly out of the way, and then we'll take a better look at it once we get this off. I got those 218s out. Look at this pad. Bad. Glad he wasn't driving it far. I've seen this, but I've never experienced it. Look how bad, guys. That is insane. It's not gonna, it's insane. Wow. Well, the good news is we got new stuff. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go grab the box of new parts that we got, and I'm just gonna leave that hang out for a little bit because like I said, I've got new brake lines, which I'll show you in a minute. But just so we're not gonna make any more mess than we have to right now. As a matter of fact, I may get all this assembled, put the new brake line on, and then open this up back here to take this off. And that way our leak will be down here and not up against our freshly painted caliper, or not caliper. But anyway, it's bad. Let's get this junk thrown in my metal pile. I did use a little brake clean just to clean the surfaces off, but here's what we've got for replacement parts. We've got, I think I went with the, like the truck or extreme duty toe pads. I mean, look, he's not towing a lot, but I've had good luck with these, and they should come with the brackets and all these guys. Yeah. Obviously new pads and our rotors. Now guys, I went back and forth. I was gonna try something a little cheaper, rear passenger side, so that's what we're on. I was gonna try something a little cheaper this time from Detroit Axle, but people were saying that the main difference they saw between these and, which are powerstop, and I've got on everything out here, and the Detroit Axle is the cross-drilled holes. Obviously they're cross-drilled and slotted. They're zinc plated, and I like that because they don't get all rusty. Okay, they look like this 5-10 years from now. But the cross-drilled holes are countersunk, whereas the Detroit Axle ones are not, and they say that causes cracking. I have never had a set of my power stops crack at any point. And they generally have pretty low dusting, which I like. And so that is why I like to, I'm not sponsored by them. They don't give me any free product. They just work and they look good. And so that's why I use them. And honestly, guys, for the price that I paid for this stuff, you're gonna spend that much at a local parts store to get just stock replacements that suck and are crusty and look terrible after like just 1 week. So let's get this out, unwrapped. I'm gonna wipe it off with some brake clean because sometimes they put stuff on in shipping. And let's get it just seated on here to start. I got this thing on, but the problem I'm having, and I ended up taking it off, is the e-brake shoe will not fit like it fits inside that. You can see I've taken it off and put it in that one just as test. And this has room. But this one does not have enough room to put that in. And I even bent that. I took it off, took it over to my press and kind of sunk it down, adjusted it all the way down, and it still will not clear it. And so the brake shoes on that look relatively new. I don't know if that's an issue. This hole on the inner side where the e-brake rides is not as big as that one. So he never uses the e-brake on this since it's an automatic. But guys, just so you know, I don't know if this is a known issue with these or if somebody put an aftermarket brake shoe, because the brake, the actual parking brake, looks all new. And so I'm wondering if maybe they put the like a heavy duty truck parking brake on it instead of the correct one. But for now, until I can figure out the part numbers on this, I'm going to go ahead and assemble it like this without the e-brake shoe, and we'll see what the deal is on the other side. But I'm going to go grab my painted calipers off of the stand over there, and we're going to try to get part of that in place. Since I bought these all new, I will tell you guys the brackets should be the same right to left. This does have an R on it for right. You can see that right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab my razor blade and clean up this mounting area that I got a little extra paint on. I'm gonna do the same thing on this. And then just because I'm a nut job, I'm gonna take these boots off since I got paint on those. These are brand new and they have grease in them, so we don't have to grease these like we normally do, but we do need to go ahead and put our hardware in place I'll show you here in a second. 2 of them snap in here for the brake pads to ride in, and then 1 snaps in the top. Now, one of my new calipers came with all the brackets, but when you buy the pads, they'll also come with it. I've got this locked down, got that cleaned off, scraped off, and I've got the new hardware in. But before I put this into place, I'm gonna go clean up my bolts. I'm also gonna get a little Loctite to put on these little red, so they don't come out of place. You can see where the factory had Loctite. So let me go clean these up with my wire brush on the bench grinder over there. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of caliper grease. You can see I've got caliper grease. I'll list that in the description as well. You're gonna need some of that. Put a little bit of that in the runners here where these pads slide. Got my red Loctite here, trying to use up some old that I got with some parts. And you can see that I've put some caliper grease in there. So now I'm gonna take my 18s, put a little of that red Loctite on there and get them started with my ratcheting wrench just for starters. Once we get that snug down, man, it looks so much nicer than that old nasty thing. When you torque that, and it goes, these bolts, those 18s back here, they're gonna go to 148 foot-pounds. I know that's a lot, but hey, we don't want our brakes falling off. Normally what we do at this point is put our pads in, and I like to look at the old ones. The downside is one of our old ones is thrashed, but we can at least see this one and see where our wear indicators are, because you can see we have 2 separate wear indicators. This one's on one side, this one's on the opposite side. So what I want to do is I want to match up. So this one should be the front, because that's the one closest to us. The other one we're just going to have to guess, since we can't see it, since it's completely destroyed. But we'll get those in place, front and back, so opposite corners for the wear indicator. And I guess that's probably so you can see it up top through the wheel maybe. I don't think you can even see that. I don't think it really matters. But it may fit both ways, it may not. Try to put it in the same orientation. And when I say wear indicator, that's this little guy here. It tells you, hey, your pads are low. Let's get it in place. Now we've got a little bit of caliper grease on the inside of the piston and where the pad's gonna ride. I like to do that to keep things quiet. Now all we need to do is get this into place. Make sure that you're putting the right one in the right spot. The bleeder should always go up top. Now while you're tightening these 12 millimeters up that hold the caliper to the bracket, you're gonna notice the inner is gonna spin. So what you need to do, and what I generally do, is I get on this caliper, it's a 16 millimeter, and you can set it right there. Be careful not to beat up the rubber piece here and break that, because then you'll have moisture and you don't want that moisture in there. But hold it like that, and then this needs torque to 31 foot-pounds. Not a lot on that. Now that we've got that locked down, we've got, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put that, okay, off camera. I'm gonna take that off and put that in place. I didn't even think about that. We have another piece of hardware. It happens, guys. But anyway, what I was gonna say is we need to match up our new brake line, and they're the same for the most part. The difference is, if you can see the cutaway in that cutaway faces up, and you'll notice that the shape needs to go there. So I think these brake lines are probably okay, but it's just good measure to replace it, especially with the age of this truck. But let me knock this caliper back off, put that in place, and then we will get our brake line locked onto our caliper, and then we'll worry about the leak being back here. We'll have to use a line wrench to get this loose and get the other end in place. I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking, but I have to have the bolt that holds the line on. So I did knock that loose with an 11 millimeter. That's it here. And cleaned it up, try to get some of the brake grease or the brake fluid out of it. But we've got a new set of washers. We need one on the inside, so one on the top, then the line, then another one, and we'll get it into place. I think there's a torque spec on that too. I'm gonna look that up for you guys, because this is the easiest one to probably over tighten or under tighten. A lot of people, you know, if it leaks, you know, they tighten it up more, but there is a torque spec for this. 30 foot-pounds with an 11 millimeter is the torque sequence on that, or setting on that. And then we need to go back here, and we're gonna loosen this up back here with this jam nut. I'll give you the size here in a second. I'm gonna move my light too. Before we take the retainer clip off, just makes your life easier. You could probably get away with not using a line wrench, but you can see I've got a 9/16 on it, and that's the closest that I can get. I've got some metric ones too, but it seems to be 9/16 fits it the best. So we're gonna run this back probably as far as we can, then we'll get a flat blade screwdriver and knock this clip off. In fact, I think it's starting to spin. You may use an 18 on the back, on the hose clamp, or the hose side back here, to hold it from spinning if it starts to spin on you. But be careful here, because if you screw these lines up, you're gonna have to replace them, and that sucks. You're gonna have to bend your own or order new replacements. Here's how I like to take these off. So I get a flat blade screwdriver in there and get it started. Just kind of wiggle back and forth. And generally you can get that thing off there, just like that. And our old hose is free. We'll get it set down here. I'm gonna take it outside so it can drain. Got a mess already. And now all we need to do is push our new one through. Should have the same size opening, hopefully. Yeah, I think it does. It does. I said it does. Yeah, there we go. We don't want any kinks. Make sure your line isn't kinked, and it's not. And so what we need to do is we need to start this before we try to put our clip back in place. Make sure it threads in nice and easy. Once we got all that done, I went ahead and knocked the clip back on and snug this the rest of the way down. Now, there is a torque setting on this, but unless you have a crow's foot with a multiple point, like a line wrench style, you're not going to be able to torque that down. So what I do is I get it as tight as I can. I put a wrench on this other side. In this case, actually the same 16 that I used on the caliper to keep the inner from spinning was the size that it was. Generally it's 18 on a stock line. This is a aftermarket replacement line I'm going to be listing in the description. So we are finished on this side. Aside from the down that we do not have an e-brake set up, like I said, I'm going to have to look into that, which means I'm going to have to pull this all back apart. But I think it's going to take me a while to find out what exactly went on with the e-brake setup. I mean, I've used this exact same setup before as far as these rotors. And actually I had those on the green truck before I did the dual piston conversion. So I know that they fit. Like I said, those look really new, and it makes me think that they put a HD rear brake caliper or rear brake shoe on. But anyway, we need to go knock out the other side, and then we're gonna come back. I've got Cohen's out mowing. I know you guys can hear him in the background, but I'm gonna have him help me bleed the brakes. The fluid looks absolutely disgusting. We may bleed the fronts too. It's just so disgusting. Now we have both sides knocked out. Figured I'd time lapse that second side for you, but that rotor looks considerably better than the other one. Can you believe it went all the way through that? That is nutty. But here's what we need to do. We need to bleed the brakes. 10 millimeter. Once we get the 10 millimeter on, we got this guy, best brake bleeding part I've ever had in my life. We'll hook that on, have Cohen pump up the brakes, and then we will have, we're gonna start on the passenger side. You always wanna start the furthest away from the master and then work your way back. Didn't take us long. Go through both sides, and I just did the back, guys. I'm not gonna bleed the front today. Here's the thing. Obviously this looks a lot better. I think it's gonna stop a lot better. We're gonna go through the break-in procedure, which is on the box here. 5 aggressive stops, 40 to 10, followed by 5 moderate stops, 35 to 5, and then drive for 5 minutes, trying not to touch the brakes at all. Now, what I will tell you is if you let your brakes get this bad, that I did, I spent probably an hour cleaning this wheel with CLR because it had been sitting outside in the rain. And I didn't do the barrels because these wheels aren't perfect, but I didn't want the faces to be all messed up. So I did spend some time there. But at this point, I'm gonna put the wheels on, torque them to 140, get this thing on the ground. I wanted to show you guys this one more time. It's so terrible. Look how bad that is. It's so bad. Oh, anyway, we got back from a drive. It's sitting outside now. Move the dually back in. No issues whatsoever. Now, one of the things that you're gonna experience when you go out and do the bed-in period, so that 40, 10, 35, 5, and then driving around for 5 minutes with trying not to touch the brakes, you're gonna smell it. You're probably gonna get a little bit of dust. But what you want to look for, first of all, you want to listen to make sure that you don't have any grinding or any kind of issues. You want to look for a good swipe pattern, which we have, where that pad is actually hitting, and we want to make sure that it's not like grabbing or sticking, any issues like that. But guys, it is working great. Brakes work great. Now you're probably wondering, like, why didn't you do the front? Well, eventually we're going to do the fronts. This is one of those deals where it's a daily driver. We're fixing as stuff breaks, making it better as we go. The thing does need some suspension work in the front, so probably what will happen is when we eventually do some suspension stuff, I think it needs tie rods up, it needs ball joints, it needs just about everything up front. When we do that, we'll probably address the brakes at the same time, or if the brakes go out before then, I don't know. But I'm spending enough money in the shop. I don't want to spend any more money than I have to on this truck. That it's just keeping it on the road, basically. But at the same time, when I do stuff, I like to do things a little nicer than they were before. Anyway, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video on the brake replacement. Like I said, I will be listing all the stuff I use in the description down below, as well as some of the tools, so go check that out. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please, like always, smash that thumbs up button. If you are not subscribed, go hit the subscribe, ring the bell notification. That will notify you every time we drop a new video on this or some of the stuff in the shop. And stay tuned, guys, to see what we work on next.